Hello, everybody. I'm Geoff Laughton, your Relationship Architect.com. And in case you don't know, I work with individuals and couples, helping them to be able to identify and remove beliefs, patterns that are keeping them both in their lives and in their relationships feeling stuck, uninspired, kind of cold, not very passionate, and essentially, if you are in a relationship, feeling like you are roommates or friends with occasional benefits. And in helping them with all that, what ends up happening is that you get re-inspired, your passion comes back, you have a reconnection to what your life is really about for you and what your relationship is really about for you. And today I'm talking about what to me is a really fascinating topic, and that is how many people are really in bed with you and your partner. Now, lest you think that I've taken a turn towards the kinky, or that you've inadvertently stumbled onto a sex education video, you haven't. What you have come to is me sharing a bit of information about one of the biggest variables that ends up making relationship challenging, difficult, and even has the capacity to kill a relationship. So let me ask you to ask yourself a couple, three questions. Number one, have you ever found yourself, if you have children, have you ever found yourself suddenly in a fit of frustration or exasperation, saying something to one of your kids in a tone of voice and even using language that when you were a kid, you said, "Oh, I'm never going to do that with my kids. I'll never be like that with my children." And there you are, doing exactly the thing that you said and swore up one side and down the other that you'd never do if you had your own children one day. If you have children and you're thinking, "No, I've never done that," I don't trust you. Because every parent I know, including this one, has done that. Here's another scenario. You and your partner get in an argument about money, and your partner's upset with you about how much money you're spending, or maybe how much money you should be making that you're not at the moment. So you have this argument, and it may or may not get resolved, but then you go out and you go blow some money on something that you really don't need. Maybe it just makes you feel awesome for about 20 minutes after you're cooling off from that discussion. But you go out and you spend money on something that really, if you look honestly, you know perfectly well your partner's going to get pissed off at you. So it ends up being a subtle fuck you or a not so subtle passive aggressive fuck you to him or her. Third scenario. It's the holidays. Maybe you haven't been married all that long or in a committed relationship with someone for all that long. And you and your partner are having conversations about whose place are we going to go have Christmas at. And it's a perfectly reasonable question, but it only takes minutes to realize that you're getting very positional, your partner might be getting really positional, and it turns into a full-blown fight or argument. And you're sitting there, one part of you arguing, the other part of you going, what in the hell is going on here? We're just trying to figure out where we're going to do Christmas or Thanksgiving. Okay, if you can relate to any of those scenarios, if you've ever experienced them, or you have friends who have and have shared about it with you, and you feel confused, frustrated, mystified even, here's what's going on. And before I tell you exactly what's going on, let me give you a statistic that's either going to scare the holy crap out of you, or it's going to have a light bulb go off and go, oh, there's the V8 I've been waiting for all this time. And here's that statistic. On average, 95% of the time, you and I are walking around and doing our life from an entire set of programming, if you will, kind of like software, that was all written and installed in our noodles between the third trimester of being in our mother's wombs to about 7. So think about that a moment. I'm 60, and I'm walking around 95% of the time. I'd like to think I've lowered the percentage through a lot of hard work and practice. But on average, 95% of the time, our subconscious mind and all the programming that went into building it is running the show. So if you look at any of those 3 scenarios I laid out a few minutes ago, that childhood programming is what's causing most of that to happen. We get upset, we feel threatened in some way, and that programming is kicking in, and we are responding the same way that we did when we were kids. Now, let me ask you another question. If you think about in the entire lifespan that you've lived thus far, where the first relationship was that you ever got to witness and learn from, can you guess? It's not very hard. It's your parents. Whether it was theirs directly, or if you grew up as I did in a divorced household from a really young age, and you had one parent, or maybe boyfriends, girlfriends, before a step-parent might have come into the picture. You as a kid, even though you don't have the cognitive wherewithal to really make a lot of sense about anything, but as children, we feel everything. So you're watching and feeling the energetic dynamics of what's going on in your parents' relationship. No offense to your parents, but guess where they learned how to do relationship from? Their parents. So all this shit is rolling downhill, good, bad, and ugly, about how you do relationship, how you behave in relationship, how you respond and react. That's the programming that we first get to witness as we're growing up, and then we bring that, guess what, into our relationships. Let me offer you one other interesting factoid. Whatever your parents, whether they're alive or dead, whatever your parents never really got complete, resolved, handled between them when you were a kid, any of that stuff that still is unresolved, you're trying to work it out in your relationships. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Just even with that information I'm giving you, if you look back at your relationship history, if you look at where some issues come up with you and your partner, if you're in a relationship, new or long-standing, some light bulbs are going to begin to go off for you. At least they should. So we have inside of us what I refer to as an inner family. We all have an inner child. That term was very popular in the 80s, but all the research that even began putting inner child, or what's now often referred to in the context in the therapeutic world of attachment theory, that first started getting fleshed out scientifically in World War II. So we're talking about, this is something that's been around and been studied and written about nigh on 70 some odd years, 70, 75 years. I suck at math, so, it's somewhere in that ballpark. So we all have inner kids, inner children in us. And those are a product of that programming. All the modeling that we got to see from our parents and our grandparents, other family relatives, teachers we had that were very influential. And we're walking around having that be the kind of marionette that is driving how we show up in a relationship, including friendships, by the way, not just our romantic partnerships. It's how we show up. It's how we respond. It's part of why you'll get pissed off if somebody gives you a funny look in a business meeting and you immediately go, they looked at me funny. I'm doing something wrong. What did I do? Oh my God, what should I do to fix it? All that stuff is automatic. It's programming. Most of it is made up stuff. And none of us are doomed to have our whole life, and however many relationships we may go through or may have already gone through, none of us are doomed to have that running the show. So when I say how many people are in bed with you and your partner, there's at least 6. You, your partner's parents, and your parents. Again, alive or dead. Our family of origin, our parents can easily, if we're not awake and aware of how to work with all this that I'm sharing, they can run our life from the grave for decades. So don't believe that just because your parents might not be around anymore, that they have no impact. They do. And it's really slippery because it's mostly unconscious. So this is the main thing I wanted to share with you today, is that if you really start, here's a tip to actually just take into your life and start working with today. And that is to kind of turn up that part of you, your awareness, your consciousness, that can actually watch what you're doing, watch how you're behaving, and occasionally throw out, what the hell? Like the time my wife asked me about 30 years ago to pass the peace, and I did, and then she asked me to empty the garbage after I was done eating, because she finished before I did. And I got infuriated in a matter of seconds. And even then, when I was a younger man, I had that observer, just like you do, that is going, what the hell am I so pissed at? Because she asked me to empty the garbage when I was done eating. Totally reasonable request. That was my inner teenager. In relationship dynamics, there's a great deal of our adolescent stuff that we don't even know isn't really resolved or complete that runs the show. Makes us really reactive. So, my invitation to you in terms of what to really practice and try out in this next week is to watch how you respond to people. If you have kids of any age, watch how you feel and the kind of moods that you go in and out of. Because when you have children, whatever age they are before they're adults, they're going to bring up your stuff, your shit that hasn't ever really been dealt with from that same age. Imagine. So, watch for that. And when you catch yourself, if you stop and take a couple of deep breaths and ask yourself, all right, what has just been brought up? Where is this reminding me of my past, specifically in my family, with a parent or with a major caregiver that you grew up with? How old is it? Am I 12 right now? Am I 6? And just even doing that will begin to unhook you, untrigger you, and help you breathe back into, oh, okay, that was then, this is now. What's the choice and direction I want to take next? Hugely powerful tool. If you'd like to learn more about this, because there's a lot to this, I would invite you to, if I can do this in a way, there we go. Built to Last, Designing and Maintaining a Passionate, Loving, and Lasting Relationship by yours truly. Available on Amazon, came out about 3 years ago. And chapter 6 is the chapter to read. And that'll give you a lot of additional background. So please, whether you're watching this live or if you're watching the recording of it, please feel free to leave comments, questions. You can email me if you want to keep privacy. Geoff, Geoff, at yourrelationshiparchitect.com. And there's all kinds of resources on that website about relationship, this stuff that I've just spoken about, lots of other videos. So, thank you very much for giving me your time today. Have fun watching how many ages you go through in a day. Take care, everybody. See you next time.